Hello and welcome to
Dragons
Unicorns.
and other very creative creatures.
And I'm Dr. Kevin.
I'm Rona Goffstein.
And we're here to celebrate, promote, and discuss the arts, artists, creatives of any and all kinds.
Including the draconian kind?
Draconian?
Is that what dragon-like are called?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that.
I like dragons. Although I seem to be seeing a lot of unicorns more these days for some reason.
Any with style and class, or are
No,
they all that
mostly
little...
the really cute holographic. Yeah, like they've been doing makeup palettes with, pretty colors and stuff like that. And putting unicorns and mermaids together a lot because I think they consider them the same color palette.
Well, all I can tell you is unicorns are majestic creatures of power and
ferocity in their own way.
Yes, and their ferocity is about protecting and saving the innocent and
That's right.
Purity and integrity.
Not about stuffed animals.
They're not about being Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, no, those are most of the ones I'm seeing in the mall these days. They're on, girls' backpacks and, I'd rather be a unicorn, or I am a unicorn, or don't mess with me, I'm a unicorn. Or...
Well, in the true flavor and flow of what you're discussing, all I can say is, gag me.
Yeah, I know. That's why one of these days I am going to come. I'm going to just cover this table with cute unicorns, just to really make your hair stand up.
And then you're gonna make my hair stand back up. And then you're gonna go on air with me. You're a brave woman.
I am a brave woman. Don't you think? I promise I have a little bag that we can take them all off quickly. Because I think this dragon would scare the bejeepers out of them with his 5 heads, 4 heads, 3 heads, 4. 4. I have 4.
5.
5? I'm missing one. There's one in the front.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a 5-headed dragon.
5-headed dragon.
So before we bring on today's guest, anything new and exciting going on in the vivid imagination and creative mind of Rona Goffstein?
I'm actually starting my next series. I did the mermaids this summer, and my next one's actually going to be set in New England, in a fictional town, sort of like in the White Mountains of New Hampshire, kind of North Conway-esque. And the first book, which will be a reissue, was always a retelling of Hans Christian Andersen's The Steadfast Tin Soldier, which, as most of his stories do, has a terrible, sad, cry ending. Because everybody ends up dead, just like they do in all of his stories. And then I had ideas for the next 2 in this series, and then I suddenly realized, you know what, I need to have them all be Hans Christian Andersen stories. So I went and looked at his stories, and I forgot just how depressing that man can be. I'm reading these going, I can't fix that. I cannot fix the little match girl. That is just ridiculously depressing. So I'm going to tackle the Snow Queen again in a different way. And then I'm going to use the Nightingale, which is a little less depressing than some of his
use
work.
the match girl and make her transgendered and,
It doesn't matter. She's dead.
Well, that's all right.
I mean, everybody's dead. Everybody's dead at the Steadfast Tin Soldier, too. But there's no romance. There's no relationship. There's nothing in there for me to play with. It's just her lighting her matches and looking at pretty scenes. Although I did have a friend redo it once for an anthology, and she sort of gave it a happy ending. They were together in the end, but they were both dead.
Well, I mean...
Not happy? They were ghosts together.
Well, then now we're talking happily forever after.
Yeah, really. Ghosts together forever.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't get much more forever after than that.
No, but I have to say, and this is a good segue, the anthology that story appeared in, the still depressing but slightly happier ending of The Match Girl also had a Rapunzel retelling, where for the first time somebody finally wrote a Rapunzel where she curses up a blue streak when her hair is getting climbed as it's getting pulled. And that was written by our guest today.
Oh, okay. So I will let you go ahead.
I'd love to introduce
today's guest.
I will. Our guest today is Ashlyn Chase, and Ashlyn describes herself as an almond joy bar. A little bit nutty, a little bit flaky, but basically sweet, and wanting to only give her readers a little extra enjoyment. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Ashlyn writes exciting and varied characters, but all of them generally have something to do with people reinventing themselves. After all, she's reinvented herself many times. Now she's a
multi-published,
thank you.
best-selling
English is my
author,
first language.
award-winning author of humorous, paranormal, and contemporary romances represented by the Seymour Agency. She holds a degree in behavioral science, works as a psychotic RN for 15 years. Same difference. For 15 years and spent more years working for the American Red Cross. She lives in beautiful New Hampshire with her true life superhero husband. Yay!
Yay, superhero husbands.
Yeah, I know. I'll have one in about another 7 weeks.
Yes, exactly.
I know. So it looks like Hugh Jackman, only if he had salt and pepper hair.
Which Hugh is going to have sooner rather than later.
Yeah, well,
he's getting there.
Yeah, but it may not be salt and pepper. You know, everybody's hair shifts differently.
That's true.
She and Mr. Amazing.
He needs
Mr.
a, he needs a, yes.
Yes. Have adopted 2 wonderful shelter cats, Salem and Coco.
We should do a show on artists and their animals.
Artists and their animals? Okay.
That might be
Well, you know, we are going to be doing a show, which I think it's funny because we're doing a show with a paranormal author right now, but then we're going to do a show called, just you and I are going to do the history of horror.
Yes.
In film, literature, and in the theater.
Yes, so stay tuned for that one. But for now, I'm really excited to have Ash Chase here.
Hello.
Good to have you with us, Ash. Now, Ash and I have known each other since just before I was published. We were both published with Alora's Cave, which has since bitten the big one. It's gone the way of many a publisher, big and small.
So she knew you when you were still a virgin. I didn't
yes.
think there was anyone left.
Alora's Cave was once the largest e-publisher in the world. And it was the first to, bravely published erotic romance for women. And it's a shame that they went under. They were huge.
They were huge. They started a lot of current best-selling authors, Angela Knight, Sylvia Day, J.C. Burton, Laura Lee,
Yep.
quite a few.
Do we know why they went under?
Oh gosh,
A
that's
combination of mismanagement, which will do just about any good, even a good company in, and changes in things like Amazon's algorithms. And while they were the first, a couple of years ago, this big publishing phenomenon hit called 50 Shades of Grey. And all of a sudden, everybody was jumping on a bandwagon and in a niche that, Alora's Cave really dominated.
I think that rather than blaming anything or anyone, the publishing industry has gone Wild West right now. It really
it's rogue.
is. It is completely rogue. And it used to be that you would write your best book, you would send it out with love. You would wait for months to hear back, and then you would get a letter saying, "Thank you, but it's not for us." And you would go and do the same thing again and again and again. So,
speaking of getting salt and pepper hair,
right? So the newer authors who have just gone straight to indie and have never had that experience, I feel so sorry for them, don't you? They never had a chance to thicken their skin.
I remember those days.
Yeah.
I was doing that back in '95.
Yeah.
Before that, because that's '94, because I got my first book published in '95.
And it was a very long process. And then even once you were, and to this day it's true, if you want to be published by a more traditional house, if your book is accepted today, it's not going to see the light of day, or it's not going to see a reader till at this point, 2019.
For a year, at least, yeah.
They're booked at this point.
These books that I have in front here is a series that has started with that one way down there, Strange Neighbors, and it was a 3-book series. The Strange Neighbors, The Werewolf Upstairs, and The Vampire Next Door.
Doesn't sound like you should be on the like the CW or something.
So
that would be a
Upstairs
great
was
series for the
fun
CW.
series.
So this was
That's
the
the second one, right?
Okay.
And then the
Thank
vampire
you.
upstairs.
Thank you.
Very important to have things in order.
Right, absolutely. So anyway, we do have that 3 complete, and then I got a spin-off series, and the second one, the werewolf, he had a twin brother, so we had Nick's story in Flirting with Fangs. And I'm sorry,
that title.
this whole series is called Flirting with Fangs. I'm sorry, this one's called Flirting Under a Full Moon. That wasn't my title, that's why I couldn't remember it.
They will change that on you.
They will change the titles, yes.
I have a friend said, what do you think of the title? I'm like, what I think doesn't matter. You know, if your publisher likes it, great. Otherwise,
Exactly.
they'll change it.
They will. And so anyway, then I got these 3 all published. And then I got a spin-off of book 2
That's
again.
funny. It's always book 2.
It
or
is.
so far.
It really has still been. And so this is How to Date a Dragon, spurred my series that just completed in August with the 3rd one. Anyway, I Dream of Dragons, then My Wild Irish Dragon, and then this is the one that just came out in August, Never Dare a Dragon. My book 2 has just spurred another spin-off.
Hey, more dragons or different species now?
Different species.
I love it. We've gone, so vampires, werewolves, dragons, and I noticed phoenix.
Phoenix.
And now
You
what?
got it.
It's phoenix.
It's the Phoenix, yeah.
Phoenix
Oh,
series.
my.
I like it.
So the next series is Phoenixes. You meet them in this book, and then there's more about them here. It's the Fierro family from Boston. They are all firefighters. And my dragons are also Boston firefighters. And
Yeah, so for our local viewers, it's a
Yeah.
locally based book.
yeah, the whole series is based in Boston. This series is called Boston Dragons.
I love it.
And yeah, they are perfect for fighting fires because my dragons, I don't know about anybody else's, but my dragons are fireproof. And
It all depends on what mythos you choose.
right.
Yes.
And I actually made mine up. I mean, there's no mythos about phoenixes really, except that if they burn up and they rise from the
They
ashes.
rise, yes.
I used that, of course, but I also had to invent a whole lot of other things, for them. So that was a fun series because I did get to write the whole mythos myself,
That is
basically.
fun.
See, and that's what happened when I wrote my first science fiction book, was I got to create the races and the histories, and, before I even put the first word of that book down, I wrote 100 pages of backstory.
Yeah,
That's
and
great.
I
world
would
building.
never get, because you had to craft the world.
Right.
And readers don't get about crafting a world.
They just live in it.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's what we want them to do.
That's right.
Yep.
We want them to keep turning pages and want to pick up where somebody left off. And now, have you ever seen characters back again from the first series?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's
all
cool.
the time. Yep. That's why I
It's
call
like a
this.
soap opera. I loved my soap operas.
It might be like 3 series, but I call it the series that never ends because you still pick up characters from the first series in all of them.
Oh, that's
They
cool.
pop in every once in a while just to help out,
Just help out. They don't cause trouble.
Right. No, they just come back to help out.
Oh, good.
If I have even a villain, I like to redeem them by the end. I love redeemed villains because
I
we
dig
all,
that.
we
It
screw
is.
up. We're all a mess.
Besides,
So
there's
why
something
not?
about, well, I mean, redemption stories are wonderful.
I love them.
I mean, redemption, and you talked about reinvention as well. They just, I think it's something we all crave or see or look for and certainly enjoy in our stories.
Well, it's
Even
interesting.
Darth Vader is somewhat redeemed, in his final moments.
Well, I think that the redemption thing is interesting from the standpoint of we sometimes don't understand, we struggle as a species with why do bad people get to do bad things and end up President of the United States? Why do bad people do bad things and end up, making millions of dollars,
Right.
whether it's on a sports field or in Hollywood?
Right.
And so.
Or get away with.
And then how do we explain to our children that you should do the right thing when the right thing oftentimes, at least from the outside, does not look like it's been redeemed at all or rewarded at all?
Right.
I believe that good does triumph eventually. I mean, even if this person gets away with it, they have to live with themselves. They can't get away from themselves, and on some level they've got to know,
But some of the most famous ones were so in love with themselves, they thought they were really good. people.
Of course. Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's one way.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
Yeah,
But
and that's why
I
we write
honestly
romance too.
believe
That way we get to, and that's why we write sometimes,
Right,
period. We get
absolutely.
to punish the,
But we also get happy endings. I really like to be positive as much as possible.
yeah.
And, you know, if I had a mission in life, it would just to have as much fun as I can, and then, you know, bring other people along with me for the ride.
Well, I think that there are cycles, and I love the fact, I mean, now you make me want to read all of these books, because I love the fact that you do have characters show up, that there is a continuity. I'm very much, one of my all-time favorite series goes from the 30s to the 2000s, Susan Howard. And, you know, and her whole thing is you meet them and you meet their children, and then you have books about their children and their children
And
having
saga.
children. And yeah, but
Yeah.
for those of us who use reading as a place to escape into, we like the continuity. We like the familiar. There's
Yes.
less you have to describe each time, because you know what the head of this family is like, or you know that, and then that character doesn't need as much time because you know who they are when you've met them the second, third, fourth time.
But you also have to keep in mind that somebody who picked up this book first doesn't have that
They may have to back up.
backstory. Yeah, you kind of have to learn how to get them into that person's
Catch up.
mindset in like 2 words.
As fast as possible, not too much information dump. So
Right,
that those who have been
exactly.
following aren't
Exactly.
flipping through the pages.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, you know, gifted authors, or gifted writers, because soaps have this all the time. They're always picking up new people that have to go in, and there's 40 years of soap history that they don't have access to,
Yep.
or they get referred to. Is a good author knows how to communicate enough of what you need, but also I find in some of the series that I read, and there are several different ones I read that are serial books, that they do it in a way that make you want to go back and get the first book.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, obviously, there's just a little, you know.
Enough of a hint about these
Right.
folks that you want to.
That's true. And I do write so that people can pick up one book and then go back and read another one, and it doesn't ruin it. I definitely like a series read in order for myself, you know.
We get to be sticklers about those
right.
things.
How many times did you redo the table so
I-
the
well,
books
you
were all in
know-
order?
you know, there's just
And then-
things that
Right, and then they weren't when we
they
went on
weren't.
air.
Because it's bound to
Exactly.
The
happen. It's that
goblins.
kind of day.
Exactly. And it's okay. It's okay because, you know, it gives me a chance to explain that. You know, I don't like a cliffhanger where I have to wait a year
Oh,
to find
yeah.
out what happens. And, you know, I love Nora Roberts. I really do. But when
know
I had
about
to wait
coming.
a whole year for that book to tell me, you know, what was going to happen, I was like, oh, God. And now I know how, you know, how not to treat my readers, you know.
Just think of what George R. R. Martin's readers think.
I love George R. R. Martin. Now, I was just saying how, you know, you have to pick him up and describe him in 2 words. He does that. I've studied his writing because I
that's
want to be
interesting.
able to do that. He's great
Write
at
a little
that.
faster than him.
Yeah.
I have sworn not to start reading the Game of Thrones series until I'm sure he's actually going to finish it before he dies.
Yeah.
He's 2
It's
more
wonderful.
books, and he's not getting any younger, and he writes really slowly to begin with. And since the series started, the television series started, he's writing slower. So
You know,
I'm
it's-
waiting.
Yeah, it's okay as long as there's not a cliffhanger, you know.
Yes.
And each one of my books, you know, is a romance, and it wraps it up with a happy ending.
Yay.
You know, happy ever after. So that you know, when you go back, even if you've got a couple here, you got to kind of wonder, how did those 2 get together? You know,
yeah,
I
mean
love
that's
having a couple
one of the biggest challenges, you know. Well, for a romance, I mean, the rule of the genre is that the central couple will end up together at the end. Okay, so your reader knows this from page 1.
Right.
Now we have to keep them turning pages for 200 and something pages and X number 100,000 words.
Right.
Even though they know that this is going to end happily. They have to stay interested. That's a bigger trick than you think.
Oh,
Well,
well, not that I
would
not-
think,
not-
but you
not
would
that
think. But I
think,
actually had
but yeah.
somebody recently say, "Well, you know, romance. It was one of the very old classic writing romance is easy. That's a quick thing to write.
Oh.
It's the easiest way to break into writing." So it's
Well,
like,
maybe maybe
I'm
that's
clunking
what,
myself on the head with the phone.
maybe that's what somebody thought who doesn't write romance.
Yes. The first thing I
Obviously.
ask somebody when they say, I hear romance is very popular, I'm thinking about writing it. I'm like, do you read it? Do you like it? Because they
Have you
think
read
it's-
one since the 70s? They have changed so much.
Oh my God, it's
We
so
have-
true.
We have butt-kicking females now. We don't have anybody sitting around waiting to be,
Rescued.
rescued.
No, very few
Yeah.
of those. And if they do, there's a really, really good reason.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
I introduced my fiance last night for the very first time to the series The Avengers from the early 60s.
Diana
That was
Rigg.
great.
Diana Rigg.
Yes.
And from the
Talk
and
about kick butt.
Yeah, and we're starting in the very first show that her and Steve did together in 1965.
Oh, my
'cause
goodness.
It started before that with Honey Blackwell being the pre to being
Oh, I
Emma Peel
didn't know
before.
that.
Yeah, and the very first one, she's got the cat suit, she's knocking the villains out, she's firing the gun. You find out that she just wrote a paper for a science journal. But I'm thinking that was in
Yeah.
was in 64, 65 that was being
Yeah.
written and put out,
Yep.
and we're 40 years later,
50.
years later, and more than
Sorry.
50 years later, and 50 years later, you do have a lot of kick butt characters.
More and more,
But they're still not the majority oftentimes.
That's
No.
okay. I mean, I do have, my characters are like real people. They've got their faults, they've got their failings,
They drink blood.
Sometimes.
They turn wolf at a moon.
They
Sometimes.
bite people
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes.
if necessary.
But no, I don't write horror. I write comedy.
She does.
All
This
of-
is the woman who wrote the Rapunzel cursing as her hair got pulled.
All of my
Oh God.
characters, they've all got to be funny. If not, then I'm not having fun. And readers can tell when you're enjoying and not enjoying your
This
own
is true.
process.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
I think romance has actually set a tone long before a lot of other genres of strong female characters. It's always been part of the genre, and it's not noticed the same way because, no matter how many books at this point, Sylvia Day, Nora Roberts, I'm trying to think of the ones who are consistent bestsellers, Sandra Brown, they don't become movies. Some of them have become series, in the mystery, if they're in the mystery genre. But romance doesn't, most of the best-selling romances don't translate to the screen, mostly because we don't want to see somebody else's interpretation of what we see in our heads.
Except romantic comedies.
Romantic
Yep.
comedies
That's
happen,
huge.
but not from books. Usually
They don't
written
wind up getting Oscars.
No.
Never do they get the
No,
Oscars.
and they don't.
But it's a hugely popular.
It is, but they don't get translated from books to the screen very often. They're written directly for the screen
Correct.
more often.
Yes.
They're not. If you write romantic comedy, it's unfortunate that it's not necessarily what's going to happen, which is too bad because I think these characters would make a very fun series / soap opera.
Absolutely, and I pitched them to a producer in February.
Oh,
Cool.
Yep.
new news.
That would be very
Do
fun.
we know where that is? Where that's?
No, I'm. It's in my agent's hands.
Yeah.
If she gets any news, I'll get it immediately. I'm sure.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Right. But right now, she's dodging Irma in Florida.
Oh, gosh.
So yeah, I don't expect to hear anything really quickly. I mean, it's just like the old publishing business. You
Moves
could
the
wait
glacial
around for a
pace,
year to
yes.
hear a word. Yeah, so it's fine. It's fine. I do write things that I think would translate well to the screen because I dictate my books. I don't type. I never learned to type.
That's interesting. What do you use? What software?
Dragon
Like
Naturally
Naturally
Speaking.
Speaking.
Just checking. Just checking.
It had to be.
Said, yes.
It had to be.
So dragons here, dragons there, and dragon naturally speaking. For those of you who go, "Ugh, I can't write a book because I can't type.
Yes, and
Yeah.
it's not for that reason specifically. It's because I have such severe arthritis in my neck that I can't sit at the computer for more than half an hour at a time. And if I want to write and be comfortable, I really need to lie down. And my husband is a genius, like I said, Mr. Amazing. And he made it so that I can see the screen projected on the ceiling.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yep.
I lay down on the daybed in my office, and I have my my microphone, and I just close my eyes, and I see the movie in my head. And I just dictate what's going on, just.
I like this.
Yeah.
I'm going to try that.
Oh, do. It goes faster, too.
Well,
It does. I dictated part of my last series because I would be out with my kids, and I'm like, I still have to get my word count in. I'm like, and remember we talked about that. You said you've dictated whole books into,
Yep.
and that's exactly what I had. I had my phone. I dictated into that, and then when I got back, I was like, ooh, that's a lot of words.
Yes.
Yay.
I was trying to meet a deadline for 3 different ebooks that I had committed to. And there was some screw up with the deadline, and I got a call saying, we need that by like Monday. This was like Thursday.
Of course.
Oh, God.
For some reason, I thought it was after. Rona and I met at a place called CEO Space, and I was on faculty there. And I was driving to Las Vegas from Phoenix when I got the call saying that they needed these 3 ebooks. A business ebook, an ADD ebook. I've got several books out on ADD and ADHD, and then an inspirational, motivational ebook. And they're like, only 100 pages each, 100, 125. They're an ebook. They don't have to be as long.
Only non-writers say only.
Yeah.
100.
Only,
Exactly.
right? Yeah. I dictated all of them on the drive from Phoenix
Wow.
to
To
Las
Las
Vegas.
Vegas.
Just, and then
Could almost be happy for traffic in those moments.
yeah. But I just kept going, and then I had to take them, and you know how crazy CEO Space is, and I was just, because I'm teaching and I'm mentoring, I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm like, every spare moment
my
is
God,
now
I can
editing
imagine.
and stuff like that.
Some of the funny mistakes that come out when your dragon misunderstands you.
Not this dragon,
It
not
can
that
really-
dragon, the naturally speaking dragon.
Right.
Which can really burn you if you don't catch it.
Oh, yeah.
Rim shot.
What happened?
No, I was just saying rim shot.
Oh, yeah, 'cause I
Okay,
see-
I was going
yeah.
to say, wow. There was one that I'll share with you.
Oh, goody.
This is terrible. But
Which is why she's sharing.
which is why I'm sharing it, right? Exactly. If it's funny, I'll say it. I don't care.
Or put it in the book. One or the
Right,
other.
exactly. So this was back a while ago.
I had some of my early books. Ravenous had our early books done as audiobooks, and I tried to listen to my work as a. I couldn't do it. Cannot listen to my own words being read back at me.
Well, you know what astounds me is a lot of these books have been dictated, and they find people who are wonderful, wonderful speakers, and then they can't say the word without changing their names. It's like, oh, I have all these books under this wonderful one name, but I have to invent another one to read these books.
These books.
Yeah.
It's amazing. As I said, it's still Puritan. And here in New England, romance is still the top-selling genre.
Yep.
It is the genre that holds the publishing industry up, whether it's independent or the big, I don't know how many are left. 3, 2,
Well, I would
Random Penguin
consider-
House.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's Penguin
It's
Random House, but it really
the
should be
big
Random.
5, actually.
Random Penguin House.
Yeah,
Is it 5 now? Okay.
Dorchester left, but I think that my publisher, Source Books, should take that.
I think so
sixth
too. Source Books
position.
has been around, just over 10 years?
25.
Okay, 25 years, that's
Over
right.
25, yep.
And they've definitely been growing in scope.
They've only had 10 years of romance, though.
That's what it is.
That's what it is,
Okay,
yes.
good. But here in New England, romance is still not the thing.
Oh,
It's not the genre. It's
Absolutely. There's a lot of prejudice against it.
Yeah.
And that's a shame. I mean, I was raised by intellectuals. I was told, romance is trash. We don't read that trash.
Yep.
And you know what? I grew up to be taking care of my parents who were dying, and I was a nurse. And so I was taking care of them in their home because they wanted to die at home. And one person, this wonderful nurse that I worked with, just put a book in my hands and said, "Here, read this." She just knew I was going to be going through hell.
Right.
And it was the best escape. It was the most wonderful book. I didn't even realize it was so well written and so intelligent. I didn't realize I was reading a romance novel until I was into the sequel. That was Outlander. That was a book that's now on TV.
Now a series, yes, and
on
broke a lot of rules.
series. Yep, on Stars.
A lot of roles.
And I wrote to Diana Gabaldon, and I said, thank you. You got me through a horrible time, the worst time in my life. You got me through that. And this is my paying it forward. This is my, and I get letters from readers now saying, you got me through a terrible time.
That's great.
And,
Yep.
That's what you
your
want.
books made me smile. They made me laugh. I didn't think I could laugh at that time. And that is priceless. To
It
me,
is.
that is priceless.
And you had said earlier that if you believe in laughter and happy endings and bringing everybody along for the ride, and that is what the in a lot of ways the Fall in Love with New England event.
The conference is all
Yep.
about,
It is.
yes, yeah.
And we'll put the information up for all of you because it's coming up in October. But yeah, tell us a little bit about Fall in Love with New England. It's the second annual,
Right, yeah.
and it's readers and authors.
Right. Everybody gets together. We are all just one big happy family. And there is no other genre that is like that. Every other genre that I know of is, all about, you stay over there, we'll stay over here, and we won't even discuss things with each other because, God forbid, somebody steals my idea. We're just totally the opposite. We're
Yeah.
like, hey, yeah, I'll read that for you, and here's some ideas, and you're just welcome to them. And, we just love our community. Romance community is so special. So this is to celebrate that community. This is where we all come together and we have a blast. It was so much fun.
So, so there's no are there classes, workshops, stuff like this?
Not classes, workshops and games, activities, I call them.
Okay.
Yes.
And trick-or-treating.
And trick-or-treating, yes. The readers trick-or-treat the authors' rooms in the hotel. And we have a big Halloween party on Friday night, and it's perfect this year. It's Friday the 13th.
Oh, that works well.
Yes.
Even for romance.
And so we really lucked out. We got the banquet hall, because for some reason nobody wanted to get married on Friday the 13th.
Oh, of course. I didn't think of that.
So we have this beautiful big banquet hall and, the lovely round tables with the white tablecloths. And we're going to have 2 or 3 authors with 4 or 5 readers, everybody just chatting about books and all kinds of things.
What are the workshops on?
Oh gosh, there's all kinds of things. There's man candy bingo.
Play that at your wedding.
There's all kinds of somebody's going to talk about how to write a series. How do we keep these details straight? Because I have in this book wanted to talk about somebody back there, and it's like, oh my God, what color were her eyes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't mess that up because there will be readers who will be happy to
They
tell
do,
you.
and
Oh, yeah.
that's the best thing too. I think I reward them if they pick up with on something
That's
that
a
I
good idea.
missed.
Find something I
here,
missed.
here you have a free book. Yay! Thank you for doing that.
I was living outside of Seattle, Washington, when I started hardcore working on my fantasy fiction series. And I knew that this was going to be 13 books before it was done. So I took a whole room wall that was, I think, 12 feet long, and I had nothing
Oh my gosh, I can
but
imagine.
cards color-coded with plot lines, doing all of the, okay, I got to keep all of this straight, because it was, when I started it was alternative reality wasn't really being a term being used, but it was more alternative reality, because the first book took place in Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Okay.
So, but like you, it has rewritten the rules of,
Yeah.
so a lot of people
Reality.
Reality, but yeah, it's a nightmare to try to
Oh yeah, keep the novel
have
notebooks
since-
and
I've since had a reader go back through all my stuff and just keep a Bible for me. Everything.
thank goodness.
Yes.
That's a great-
I know, and I was like, what can I give you for doing this? Just a free book. Really?
They're so
Are you
cute when
kidding?
they're malleable like that.
Oh,
I
we're so
actually-
lucky. We
I
have
have to
wonderful
say,
people.
the first time I ever really thought about the whole, that wall was when I read The Time Traveler's Wife, which I loved, and I know I have as many friends who liked it
The
as
one the
hated it.
movie is based
The one
on?
the movie's based on.
Oh.
Because she has her heroine's life, and then her hero's life does this.
Right.
And
Yep.
this. And this. And I'm like, she has to remember who she's with and what he's experienced and what he hasn't yet experienced. And I'm like, the Post-it notes must have been everywhere.
Well,
Post-it notes are a writer's best friend. Well, one of their best friends.
Yes.
I don't know if either one of you are Doctor Who fans.
Oh my
But
gosh.
the whole River song,
Right, 'cause
spoiler
she's going,
sweetie.
Yeah, because she's
spoiler,
moving in a
sweetie.
different
Yeah.
direction.
She's going in a different direction. So she's going back in history as he's going forward. And she's like, no, you can't.
I can't tell you.
I can't tell you.
Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of strong women, now we have a woman doctor.
Yes,
Yes.
that's right.
Yeah.
Things change eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually. So besides I was going to call it hard man candy, but I don't think that's
Oh,
what
okay,
you said.
right, yeah. Oh, there's lots of different things that are, I wish I could remember them off the top of my head. I cannot.
Of
I
course,
wish
the
I
moment we
brought-
said it,
Yes.
it all disappeared.
Of course, exactly.
But
And-
giveaway baskets, it says
Yes,
here,
we
which is
do
cool.
all kinds of things. We have at the Friday night dinner, before we have the Halloween costume contest, we have a model who is coming up from an agency in Boston. He's going to call their names. You know, the readers get 2 name tags when they come. They put one in the witch's hat, and then they wear the other one. And so he'll pull a name tag out of the witch's hat and announce in the microphone who it is. She comes up, gets a hug and a basket. And I swear they're more excited about the hugs than the basket sometimes.
Makes a very good Instagram photo.
Yes. Oh, it was just so much fun last year. And they get to, pick whichever basket they want.
Ooh, very
During
nice.
the cocktail hour between 6 and 7, they just could, go through all of them and see which ones they want. And hopefully their name is called in time and all that stuff. So it's fun.
Very nice.
So,
But, I'm sorry, I forgot one
Oh,
thing.
she remembers something.
Right,
It's a good
exactly. The last thing that we do is called a Yankee toss-up on Saturday night.
Thing. We toss up Yankees?
Almost.
Yankee fan.
It's a combination of a Yankee swap and a Let's Make a Deal show.
Oh, I love Let's.
And you take all of these things, the authors do, and they stuff them in a bag. And when people walk in, they get a bag. And so, even if you didn't win a basket, you get a bag. Right. And then you go through it, and there's stuff that you want to keep, and there's stuff that you don't. And so, you can put it back in the bag, and, somebody can trade you. And it's a blast. It's so
that
much
sounds
fun.
fun. So like controlled chaos.
Exactly.
But a fun way to do goodie bags.
It really is. Yeah.
So now, how many different authors are going to be at this event this year?
50.
50
Yes,
different
we had to
authors.
cap it at 50. We do have a waiting list, so, if anybody has to drop out at the last minute for something
Life happens.
family-related or whatever, then we have somebody else just waiting to swoop in. So we absolutely have 50. We will have a book signing on Saturday afternoon, open to the public.
That's nice.
So, if people can't make it for the whole party, then, come to the book signing. That's free. Come.
I have it. Where is it? I'm looking here. Manchester.
Right,
There it is.
Manchester.
Manchester, New Hampshire, at the Best Western.
Executive Court Inn and Conference Center.
Thank you.
Love it when they make those titles that long.
Yeah.
Well, it is on South Willow Street, so it's,
It
you have to-
balances it off.
Yeah, it's going to
Right.
have the, symmetry there.
It does.
On this,
More hoity, less toity. Yeah, I know.
okay.
Sorry. Shouldn't go there.
So now, are these all 50 authors all local romance
No,
authors?
not necessarily. A lot of them are, because there's nothing like this in New England.
Okay.
And they have something like this in other parts of the country, and they change all over the place. And I asked somebody, I said, why don't you come to New England? We have all these authors that would love to do this. And they said, nope, we're never coming to New England because, nope, never. It's too expensive and it has to be near an airport. I was like, oh, darn, if only we had more than one airport in New England.
Gee.
So I did
People,
it
look at a map.
myself, right. Necessity's the mother of invention.
It
and I
is.
said, you know,
And that she is a mother. Let me tell you.
of invention. You
She
forgot that
is.
part. Yes, I
She
And I thought you were going to say she's a necessity.
Well, you know, she found a need and she's filling it.
I think that's one of her
you
characters'
better stop
lines.
while you're still ahead.
Drink more coffee. Oh, yeah.
We'll be back with you shortly after a quick coffee break.
So, any of our romance, any of our big romance fans out there, any other authors that they might recognize besides you? Who's going to be there?
Oh,
Can you share a couple of names?
Annette Blair, she's a New York Times best-selling author.
She also writes paranormal. Lots
Right.
of witches.
Yeah,
Funny witches,
that's
too.
right, that's right.
Because her covers look a little like your Strange Magic. Your Strange
the
Neighbors
Strange
series
Neighbors,
one.
yep.
Yeah, because then you got the sexy hunky ones.
Right.
But that one was more, that one's drawn.
Right.
And hers tend to look like that.
Yeah, they started in 2010, those did, and then they decided that the cartoony covers were dated, and so they started going to the hunky men, which
are lovely,
sell
but I
much
I
better
think
anyway.
They're great and they're wonderful, but I think hopefully people, and I'm glad you mentioned it too, that will realize that there's humor in them, because
Oh,
you could
yes.
definitely tell from the first three that they were romantic comedy, paranormal romantic comedy.
Right.
And so these are as well. They just, those guys don't look like they're laughing at the moment.
We're almost out of time, so I just wanted to share a couple of other names
yes.
of people coming
Oh,
in.
sure. Anna E. Ross, she writes multicultural, and let's see, Roz Lee.
Oh, she's been writing for a long time.
Yeah. We've got quite a few New York Times bestsellers and even more USA Today bestsellers.
And even more Amazon bestsellers.
And
than
yes,
probably.
exactly. And me, I'm an Amazon bestseller. But
And
so is
you
everybody
can
else and
see
their
the,
sister right now.
There you go. You can see the website, fallinlovewithnewengland.com.
Yes,
That's a
good.
good thing. People can go visit and come see. And if you can't come for the whole conference, they could at least come for the
book
Book
signing.
signing.
Thank you. That was
We're
the
going to
word
have
salad.
lots of swag to give away at that place. So, I mean, you can't not afford to go. I mean, it's free and open to the public.
Get on Route 3 and go north.
Right, 2 o'clock on Saturday.
Okay, 2 o'clock on Saturday. So we want to thank Ashlyn for coming. When they decide to make it into a series, you'll have to come back on the show.
That's
and
right,
give us some
when it
insights
goes
and
onto
stuff like
television.
that.
Absolutely.
And out there, there's a lot of things that go on in life. Romance is definitely one of the most fun. Namaste.